Recently, Wes Huff's name and work have surged in popularity. When he appeared on Joe Rogan's podcast, Rogan asked Huff to comment on written accounts by witnesses to the resurrection.
How many different people have some sort of a recollection or a writing or something that's attributed to them of being witness to his resurrection?
Well, you have Peter, Paul, Jude, James, and Matthew, Mark, and Luke. The thing with Matthew, Mark, and Luke is that Matthew and John are attributed to direct disciples of Jesus. Luke and Mark are not. So they are not eyewitnesses within the Jesus community. In fact, Luke prefaces his gospel by saying that. He's right up front about this. He's like, hey, I'm not an eyewitness. Don't confuse me with an eyewitness.
And as is often the case when the topic is religion, not everyone agrees.
But here, the claim is completely fatuous. It's without merit, because as it turns out, not only doesn't the author of the book of Matthew, somebody wrote it, a highly literate Christian writer at the end of the first century is writing it. He doesn't claim to be an eyewitness. He doesn't claim to be one of the people there. Doesn't make any of those claims. In fact, the only mention of Matthew in the book of Matthew is in Matthew chapter 9, verse 9, where the author speaks about Matthew, the tax collector, encountering Jesus in the third person, that Jesus came to him and said, come, let's go. And so he doesn't say he came to me.
So here, Tovia Singer directly challenges Huff's views on the authorship of the Gospels, alleging Matthew didn't write Matthew. His proof? Matthew's name appears in the text of Matthew, one time in Matthew 9:9. So what is Tovia saying here? If Matthew 9:9 was written by Matthew, we would expect the text to say, as Jesus was walking along, he saw me sitting at the tax booth, and he said to me, follow me, and I got up and followed him. Tovia's right. This technique is a simple way to determine authorship, but it doesn't only work in the Gospels. It works on all ancient texts, including the Pentateuch. From the time that we meet Moses in Exodus chapter 2 until the end of Deuteronomy, the name Moses appears not once, as in Matthew's case, but 647 times. 290 times in Exodus, 86 times in Leviticus, 233 times in Numbers, and 38 in Deuteronomy. So if Matthew didn't write Matthew...
Now, I want to make this clear. If a Christian wants to say, I believe on faith that Irenaeus was correct, and I trust the church that the author of Matthew was in fact the disciple Matthew, you're welcome to do that. That's your personal faith. But you can't say that this is proof, and that's what Wes is doing here. What he's saying is, I have evidence here, an eyewitness account. No, you don't.
I agree. If a Christian wants to trust the church and believe that Matthew wrote Matthew, you're welcome to do that. And if a Jew wants to trust the sages and believe that Moses wrote the 5 books, you're welcome to do that. These are matters of faith. But don't claim the text supports your view. They don't.
It's not that Matthew is falsely ascribed to the disciple Matthew, the tax collector. It's just the book is written, it's anonymous, which means the author does not identify who he is. Now, it's not like the book of Matthew says, and yours truly, Matthew. Same thing goes for Luke. Luke doesn't end with best wishes for a happy and healthy new year. It's not in there.
Are there any other examples? Can you think of any? The Pentateuch doesn't end with Moses signing off, yours truly, Moses. Rather, the story ends with a third-person account of Moses' death and burial, obviously written by Moses, right? Deuteronomy does contain 3 references to Moses writing this Torah, all in chapter 31, all in the third person by an unnamed author describing a scroll other than the Pentateuch. Deuteronomy 31:24 says that Moses had completed his scroll, and then there are 3 more chapters. Again, if a person wants to believe Matthew wrote Matthew or Moses wrote the 5 books, You're welcome to do that, but these views are not supported by the text. Wes and Tovia are both champions of their respective faiths, and they have more in common than they might like to admit. What connects them?
That I can tell you in one word. Tradition!